What's up, everybody? It's Jordan, and welcome to the Sports Behind Show. Today is September 24th, 2021. And, I've not really had any episodes, Bengals or NFL recently. I've not been feeling good, feeling better now. And Friday, I try to do my Pick'ems video. And today I'm joined by Barry Ebua joining me on the Pick'ems themed video. How you doing today, Barry?
I'm doing great, man. I'm awesome. And I'm excited to be here with you and to be able to do this podcast. So, thanks for the invite. I really appreciate it, and I'm definitely looking forward to you know, to doing a great episode with you today.
Yeah, absolutely. And you have a podcast yourself, and you have lots of content there. So can you kind of talk about before we get started a little bit about your podcast and what type of content you put out there?
Yes. So, my podcast that I record every week is called Pro Fan Sports Podcast. So we pretty much talk it's a sports podcast about the biggest and latest news in the pro sports world. So it's a weekly podcast. We do an episode every week. The episodes come out every Tuesday on the all major streaming podcast platforms like Spotify, Apple, Pandora, iHeart, Anchor, etc. And then every Wednesday we come out with the video, the YouTube video for that episode, and we put that on our YouTube channel. So you can subscribe to us. If you go on YouTube, just type in Profan Sports Podcast, and you'll be able to find us, right on there, and be able to subscribe to the channel. So we pretty much talk a little bit about everything. You know, about all sports like football, basketball, baseball, hockey, so pretty much we, definitely like to get a good amount of, variety and different, content from all the four major sports on there. Uh, and pretty much we, been bringing a bunch of, different guests, like big time guests in the, that are in the sports media. Most of them are, from Boston, where, I'm originally from, well, and stay at. So I think, uh, you know, the, we've certainly been able to expand and grow our network by, bringing, all, those guys on who, cover the teams and, um, and work for, pretty big media and, and companies and platforms. So that has, certainly helped us a lot and has been great and helped us, grow even more and, uh, and gain, more of a following and more of an audience, to listen to the episodes. So, yeah, we kind of like based it on, okay, since now it's football season, we've been having, a lot more, football, people and football, guests on the show. When it was basketball season, we had, more basketball people and, guests who cover basketball on the show. So it kind of, just pretty much based it off of that. And, yeah, and it was also pretty cool. Just a couple weeks ago, we got to, um, interview Jason Tatum, from the Boston Celtics at his basketball camp that he was doing, and that and that he held in the Foxborough area in Massachusetts just, a couple weeks ago. So we, got, uh, invited to go to the event, and me and one of my co-host who does the show with me, John Altador. He was also there as well, and we got to pretty much cover the event. So we got some video and some and some photos as well, and then obviously got to record an interview with him and other media members who also were there covering the event and also cover the Celtics as well. So that was, pretty cool to be able to, get that opportunity and that experience. And, it was certainly a lot of fun being able to do that. Myself and John, my, co-host, uh, was, were actually able to even ask him a question during that interview, which was, pretty amazing to, be able to, you know, do that to ask, big time, professional athlete and NBA superstar Jason Tatum, a question, in person. So that's, I'm certainly, very happy that I was able to get that, experience and, and be able to take advantage of that opportunity. So, yeah, we've been a little, at this for about a year and a half now. So we could, posted a lot, quite a bit of episodes, and yeah, and it's been going, really well. We actually started doing this in the beginning of the pandemic in March of last year, March of 2020, and then uh, we ended up, and then pretty much, have legit been recording episodes every week and putting out, content every week. Since then, haven't, missed a week, and and we've been pretty consistent, and it's certainly starting, to pay off all the, hard work that we've, been putting in, which is, definitely pretty, great and, bittersweet feeling when you see, the hard work that you put in, when you see the results from it, and, and you see, you see the outcome um, of that, work starting to, to show. So, yeah, it's certainly been, a lot of fun, and I'm definitely looking forward to continuing to keep on doing that and to keep on, growing the platform moving forward.
I've seen some of your videos. You've had some guys from like CBS Sports on there. I know you had
Mm-hmm.
a recent Celtic guy. He was talking about Pierce and Garnett. I saw the
Yep,
Tatum
there
thing
was
a few
J.R.
weeks
Gibbons.
back.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
The Tatum thing was awesome.
Yeah, thanks, man. Appreciate it.
I'm not really a big NBA guy like I used to be, but the Celtics have been my favorite team for a while, so that's
Oh,
like
that's
really, really
awesome,
cool.
man.
I mean, that'd be
Whoa, dude, it's
awesome.
so cool. I'm a huge Celtic fan myself, so yeah, no, that was like a dream come true, and like so surreal and just an unbelievable and amazing experience. It definitely meant a lot to me. Like that was just more than just an interview. That definitely was, uh, was just absolutely, you know, was just astonishing. That's I was struggling, to come with the word that I was able to really do that. I'm still trying to have it sink in and process. The fact that that I was actually able to do an interview with Jason Tatum. So, and didn't even know that you're a Celtics fan. So I'm glad to hear that you are a Celtics fan, and and support the team, like the three of us that do the podcast are all Celtic fans, and and follow the team as well. So um yeah, no, that definitely was, I'd probably say, the best uh experience and thing that I've done since I've we started recording the podcast, and uh and become a podcaster.
And Tatum's going to be one of the best players in the league. And you all cover the Celtics, you all cover the Red Sox, and you all cover the Patriots as well. Pretty much, lots of Boston theme, type things in your all's content. And with the Patriots, with the NFL season, heading into Week 3 yesterday, Week 3, started off with the Carolina Panthers and the Houston Texans. The Panthers, no surprise to anybody, ended up winning this game 24-9. You have any like kind of thoughts or anything like this on this game between yesterday between Carolina and Houston?
Yeah, I definitely have a few thoughts about it. I, certainly think that, you know, it, Carolina, that was certainly a big, win for them, particularly to win that game, on the road, with their, best player in Christian McCaffrey getting injured, injuring his hamstring, early in that game, and, having to miss most of the game due to the injury. I think certainly, Sam Donald did all right. Obviously, he could have certainly played better, but he definitely played well enough for them to win, and and made the plays that he had to make. Thought that their defense was played pretty well and was pretty solid. Carolina's defense, even though they were playing, backup quarterback, since Tyrod Taylor didn't play last night. So, but even despite that, I still thought, they played well. And I think their corner, who was the first round pick, I think J.C. Horn, if I'm pronouncing his name correctly, he ended up, getting hurt in that game too. So they had, a couple of big injuries, that they suffered in that game. And, despite of that, they were still able to, good come up with the win and do what they had to do to, to take care of their business and, and become 3-0. So, I mean, I expected Carolina to win. I wasn't really too surprised about that, outcome of the game and about their, about them, beating the Texans, because I kind of figured that was going to happen, particularly since, once they announced that Tyrod Taylor wasn't going to play. But it was certainly a lot closer than I thought. I thought they would have blown them out, even more than they did. So, I think obviously it was due to the, injuries to Christian McCaffrey that they didn't win by a bigger margin. But nonetheless, a win's a win, and they're able to, do what they had to do to, to win a football game and to, and to stay undefeated. So, we'll see how they do, moving forward. And, it was next week, and what they do the rest of the season.
Yeah, heading into the season, I had two surprise teams at the top of my list. I had the Vikings, which as of right now, that's not looking like a good pick. They're 0-2, and I had the Panthers. Panthers are the only 3-0 team. And Carolina, I know everybody expected them to win this game, but I just feel like I'm more impressed with just last week more than this week, because they gave up 7 points against the Saints. They've only gave up 16 points the last 2 games. It doesn't matter who you're playing in the NFL. That's really, really good. And you look at this Panthers defense, their offense has better players than their defense does. I mean, it's surprisingly that their defense has stepped up more at times than their offense. Sam Darnold, to me, him being with the Jets, that was just, he didn't play good, but I do feel like there was at times where he was just not in a good situation. I feel like him being traded to Carolina really benefited, both teams, the Jets and the Panthers. Joe Brady's the offensive guru. I feel like with McCaffrey being injured, obviously it's going to take their offense a step back. Chuba Hubbard played pretty good yesterday when McCaffrey went down, so I'm interested to see how he plays. I said heading into the year, I think the Panthers are capable of being a playoff team. I think they're in the playoffs this year. You look at the stats when teams are 3-0. So? I really do. And you look at the Falcons. The Falcons are far worse, in my opinion, than anybody could have possibly imagined.
Terrible. They're awful.
Right. The Saints, I think the Saints are capable of being a 7-win team, but the inconsistency of Jameis Winston, to me, that's a big issue in the NFC South.
Right.
They're not going to beat the Buccaneers, but you look at this Panthers team. You look at this Panthers team, I think they're capable of, take away, I would say, the top 4 teams in the, NFC, like the Rams, Buccaneers, let's say Packers and 49ers. I think the Panthers are capable of competing and beating just about any other team that I did not mention in the NFC. I think they're capable of beating teams like the Cardinals, who are also 2-0. I know the Seahawks are 1-1. I know the Seahawks are 1-1, but I think the Panthers are capable of being the Seahawks. And it's interesting because
wow. So you're really high on the Panthers.
I think,
bro. You really think they're that good of a football team? Wow, huh?
And I knew the offense was going to be good. but it's just the defense. Like the fact that their defense has been far more impressive than anybody really could have imagined so far. They've just been very, very impressive to me. And you look at these matchups compared to take Seattle for example. Russell Wilson to me is a top five quarterback in the league, but
Absolutely.
there are times where he just plays horrible. Look at the second half of the season last year. You know, the first half he was the MVP, in my opinion. First half of the season last year, the second
Right.
half he was horrible. And you just look at these, you know, some of these top teams, they're inconsistent. You know, you look at the quarterback play. Obviously, you would take Wilson over Sam Darnold. That's not even like a comparable,
Right.
you
That's
know,
not
between those
debatable.
two.
Right. Right.
But I just feel like the Panthers are one of those teams who are capable of upsetting, you know, some of these better teams in the NFC. And I feel more confident in saying the Panthers are going to end up being in the playoffs as the regular season ends.
No, but for sure, it's crazy that you're really on the Panthers. I certainly think that they are a decent football team. I certainly think you know that, like you said, that trade for Sam Donald going over there, and leaving the Jets, that definitely will help him a lot and help him grow and develop to be become a better quarterback than he was with the Jets, because not only was that a miserable and lousy organization with the Jets, but also the coaching was just horrific and god awful. It was atrocious to say the least. So he's definitely in a fits better with the Panthers and stuff, and certainly um, they'll look to build around him better, and definitely give him the supporting cast and the playmakers and weapons that he needs. Like he already has a good amount already um, on that team, but I just don't know if I would consider them a playoff team. Like I have to see more from them. I have to see what they do when they play better competition and better teams, because they played the Jets week one. We know, like we just said, how bad the Jets are, and they're not really good. They're pretty much in full rebuilding mode, particularly with starting Zach Wilson, the number 2 pick. Uh, and then obviously that was a good win for them, the Saints. I'm definitely not trying to take that away from them, but we know how inconsistent Jameis Winston is. He's hit or miss. He's either really good or really bad, and he ended up being really bad that day. But I thought that was partially because of the defense in Carolina that played well, and then just this week they played a backup quarterback that hasn't really played at all in the NFL, or really started too many games, if any at all. So I definitely will hold off on saying that they're a playoff team, but now just not only because I want to see what they do against better teams on their schedule, but also I just think the NFC West is pretty stacked and pretty loaded. I can even see like 3 teams from the NFC West making it into into the playoffs. And because obviously one's going to win the division, and then I definitely can see them getting like at least 2 of the 3 wild card teams, to get into the playoffs. So, and I'm not so sure about them being better than the Cardinals or the Seahawks just yet. I think they're closer to the Seahawks, but I'd still, have the Seahawks, slightly ahead of them and above them uh, as of right now. But I mean, that could certainly change by the end of the season. But definitely they're off to a really good start, and I was certainly so Bob like what I've seen from them for the most part. So we'll see how long they can be able to sustain that, and and keep playing at the level that they're playing at on both sides of the ball, offensively and defensively, for me to be convinced that this team is a true playoff team in the NFC.
I don't think they're better than Arizona or Seattle yet, but I do think they are capable of beating teams like Arizona or Seattle's caliber. I think this Panthers team is just very interesting because, I expected Darnold to play good this season, and with him being paired with Joe Brady was just a very great pairing in Carolina. Their
Right,
defense
absolutely.
phenomenal, much better than people think. I know they've not really played many good offenses. Only 3 games, but you've held teams to just 16 total points the last 2 weeks. It doesn't matter who you're playing. That's still pretty good in the NFL. And kind of some games
Hmm.
this week. There's lots of interesting matchups. On Sunday and even on Sunday night and Monday night. A couple games here are 1-1 Washington taking on 1-1 Buffalo. Who do you have winning this one?
Who certainly going to be a good game. As much as I hate to say it, I'll take Buffalo in that one. I think Buffalo will, win, get the win in that game, and particularly since it's at Buffalo and they play pretty well at home, even though they lost to the Steelers earlier. Um, at home, but they usually, pretty good home team, and I don't think they'll lose 2 in a row at home. And but it'll definitely be a tough game, and definitely Washington will keep it close. I expect, but I think but Buffalo should be able to win this one.
Yeah, I have Buffalo as well, and I do think it might be more closer than people think because you mentioned the Bills losing against Pittsburgh in Week 1. That game was at Buffalo. That was a home game, and
Right,
the Pittsburgh has one of the better defenses in the league. And even though
right, and a
so
lot of
far,
people sleep on their defense. That's true, and their defense is really good. That they can definitely play.
and you look at Washington's defense, they've actually kind of been underwhelming so far. You kind of expected them to be better. I
Right,
feel like
right.
with Fitzpatrick gone, I think that's going to take like they're going to surge their defense and then playing better because there might be times where their defense has to bail them out to get a victory, kind of like how it was last year.
Right.
With their quarterback situation. I have Buffalo winning this one. I think it'll be closer than people think, though. Another interesting game. Um, you look at here is the Chicago Bears 1-1 taking on the 1-1 Cleveland Browns. This is Justin Fields' first NFL start,
That's right.
and lots of people, have complained that Justin Fields should have started Week 1. I was not one of those people at all. I feel like he should definitely, take his time in Chicago. You do not want to rush a rookie quarterback and play him because let's say he sucks. And with Andy Dalton and Nick Foles, two all right, starting caliber or good backup quarterbacks in the league, if Fields were to suck, all of a sudden you would have another quarterback controversy. You do not want to bench a rookie quarterback, because that's going to kill his confidence.
Hmm.
Obviously Andy Dalton got hurt this past week against Cincinnati. Dalton to me was the best quarterback on that field Sunday. He was better than Justin Fields. He was better than Joe Burrow. So I don't understand why people are upset that Matt Nagy said once Dalton returns, he will be the starter. When Fields played, he did play pretty decent. His passing numbers weren't incredible, but I felt like when he was on the field with Chicago, I feel like their offense was kind of more vanilla, kind of more basic and plain and stuff like that. There was lots of reads, there was lots of runs. He didn't have many passing plays options, but when he did, for the most part, he was accurate.
Hmm.
Unfortunately, his wide receivers on his stat sheet made him look bad because there was a couple of drops. Allen Robinson had one. I cannot remember the other guy. But heading up in Cleveland against a really good Cleveland defense, one of the best teams in the league, I feel like this is going to be a very, very, very long day for Justin Fields. I know it's interesting to see, a mobile quarterback, his first NFL start. But the Bears, they have Allen Robinson, they have Montgomery, but they don't have these star, offensive talented players really like Cleveland does. I feel this will be a long day for Fields in Chicago. I have the Browns winning here probably by about 14 plus in this one.
Ooh, that's certainly a pretty big margin of a victory there. But no, I certainly agree. With you on this. I definitely would take the Cleveland Browns to win this game. Uh, I think it'll be interesting to see how they look, with Odell Beckham, you know, coming back in the lineup and back on the field, because it's kind of weird that their offense plays, better without him than, with him. But, they won't have, Jarvis Landry. So I think, certainly he, may see a little bit more targets, with not with Jarvis Landry being put on IR for the next 3 weeks and not being on the field. So, but I think the Browns are clearly the better team. Um, of the two, they're pretty talented on both sides of the ball, on offense and on defense. Uh, I, and they've certainly played, I think, pretty well so far this season. And then the Bears are um, kind of like up and down, and in particular, like you said, like Justin Fields making his first start against really good Cleveland Browns team, and Cleveland is certainly going to be a really tough day for for him, since their Chicago's offensive line really isn't the best, and you're going against guys like that you like Myles Garrett and Jadeveon Clowney. Clowney's not what he used to be, but he's still a guy that can make plays from time to time, and the Cleveland's defense is pretty solid, and I'm sure is going to you know be get pressure on him. And they've also haven't really, like you said, the Bears haven't really opened up the playbook, and and kind of like simplified the offense for um, Justin Fields, just because Black is kind of like limited as far as what they, can do with them as of right now. So, I think certainly, I mean, I hope it's a competitive game, but like, I certainly would have to agree with you. I could see the Browns winning this game by, definitely 2 touchdowns, even more. Wouldn't even be surprised if they win by like 3 possessions. That certainly wouldn't shock me, if that turns out to be that way.
And looking at the Bears and the Browns, I feel like this is kind of one of the more easier games to pick this week.
It
And
is.
another game, that is also a AFC North against the NFC North is the Ravens and the Lions. This is also kind of one of the more easier games of the week. And I was really surprised.
Absolutely.
I was really surprised by Baltimore's Sunday night win against the Chiefs. The Lions, to me, I do feel like they're slightly better than people think. They were getting absolutely demolished week one against the 49ers. They nearly came back in a very impressive, comeback. It was short, though. They have a great offensive line. DeAndre Swift, in my opinion, is going to be one of the better running backs in the league this year. But they just do not have that defense to stop this rushing offense of Baltimore. I said Baltimore has, 200, 250 rushing yards in this game, at least. Baltimore won this one easily here. This might be one of the biggest margins of victory of the week, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, I keep having to agree with you, but I mean, it's certainly hard not to agree with you on this one. I've obviously got to go with the Baltimore Ravens. To win this game, there's not really too much to explain. I mean, they're clearly, the better team, and and I definitely, they had a big win last week against the Chiefs, and I think they, you can definitely see them being able to build off that, and get a ton of confidence from that win, and then they should be able to dominate Lions team that just, in my opinion, isn't very good, and I mean, yeah, they're a little bit better than what people expected, and and what they even were last year, but I mean, they certainly aren't good enough to be able to compete against team like the Baltimore Ravens. So you're right, this should be no contest, and the Ravens should blow them out and easily run away with this game.
Yeah, pretty much not a guarantee, but close as they can get a guaranteed win for the
Right,
Ravens
right, right,
against Detroit.
right.
And another game here. It's interesting. I was really high on the Colts heading into the season, but Carson Wentz. I mean, he's injured as of right now. It doesn't look like he's going to play against the Titans. The Titans are 1-1. The Colts are two.
Oh, really?
0-2.
He's not going to play because I heard that he has been like practicing with the team. So and it would be a game time decision. So I'm not really 100% certain on his status, but I thought that there's a chance for him to actually play this game.
I've seen reports that he might, but I've also seen reports that he haven't. He might not. I saw a report. I think he did practice today, but they still said it's going to be very up in the air if he does play. Which it's very interesting. This Carson Wentz experience already with Indianapolis. I mean, this is pretty much already worst case scenario. He's already been injured a couple of times, and you're going up against a Titans team. In your division. If you lose this game, you're already down a couple games in the division race, and all of a sudden you lose this, you're 0-3. Like Carson Wentz better stay healthy, and when he is healthy, he better absolutely ball out for the Colts for the rest of the season, because it's not easy coming back from down multiple games in your division against a nice team with the Titans. I just don't see the Colts winning this game here because I mean the Colts have played two good teams in the Seahawks and the Rams. But Carson Wentz has still proven that he's super inconsistent and he's an injury-prone quarterback. I just do not see the Colts winning this one against the Titans.
No, I definitely hear what you're saying, and definitely, unfortunately, once again, I have to agree, with you. I think we're, on the same, page and boat on this one, and that, it's just really hard to trust, Carson Wentz from, what we've seen the first 2 weeks with him, not being able to, to stay healthy and not being able to perform and, and play well when he's on the field. And what's crazy is that the Colts aren't they supposed to have like one of the best offensive line, or arguably the best offensive line, like with them in Dallas, what I'm saying? As far as being among the, lead offensive lines. And it's like, it's crazy that you wouldn't think this would be happening to him with, being behind an offensive line that can, be able to protect him and, and keep him healthy and keep him on the field. But we've already seen, from these two games that hasn't been, the case, that he's, what I'm saying, hasn't been able to, be durable and be reliable for this team. And, particularly going against the Titans, I think, with Tennessee getting that big win against Seattle, last week, I think, they could as well, build on that win too. And, and particularly, really get a nice lead in the division if they, win this game and be in the driver's seat already this early in the season. I think, certainly, I don't know who the backup is for the Colts, but if their backup has to play, I don't really see them, being able to generate enough offense and score enough points to be able to, beat a team like, Tennessee on the road. So I, certainly would have to go with the Titans on this game.
The Colts heading into the season, some people thought they would end up winning the AFC South, including myself. And then if they lose this game, all of a sudden, I mean, they're not even looking at the AFC South at this point. They're just trying to get, a wild card spot. I mean, you start off 0-3.
Right.
I mean, you look at the records who start 0-3 who end up making the playoffs. It's nearly impossible to do. But fortunately for the Colts, they have the Jaguars and the Texans, some of the worst teams in the league. So maybe they can have, that's to me a couple easy ones there in their division. And looking at some divisions that are really underrated, in my opinion, I think the AFC West is definitely the most underrated division right now. All four of these teams, in my opinion, are playoff caliber teams. A very, very, very interesting matchup. The 1-1 Chargers take on the 1-1 Chiefs. In
Ooh,
Kansas
that's a
City,
big game right there.
I I still cannot determine who I want to pick this game. I really think I feel like the Chargers are capable of beating the Chiefs. And heading into my in the season, I had the Chargers beating the Chiefs once, but the way Justin Herbert's played right now is really underwhelming me. How bad he's played at times.
I
So far.
know.
I mean, I really thought, honestly, I picked Matthew Stafford as my MVP. Justin Herbert was my number two. I really expected Herbert to play much better, against, Washington's defense. I know Washington's defense is good, but I still thought he would play much better. Dallas, I thought he'd play much better. I believe Herbert has more interceptions right now than he does touchdowns. The fact that
That's
Herbert has been playing
crazy.
lights out,
Wow. I didn't even realize that. That's pretty crazy.
and the fact that Herbert is not playing great football, I'm gonna have to take the Chiefs in this one because I feel like Herbert has potential to be one of the best quarterbacks in the league, easily in my opinion. But right now he's not playing anywhere near that. I know it's only 2 games in, but he's playing worse than he did last year. I'm gonna take the Chiefs in this one, but I do think it'll be close.
Yeah. But once again, I'd have to agree with you. Even as much as I'd like to be bold and pick the Chargers to win this game, and to pull off the upset, uh, I think Kansas City's certainly going to you know to win this game and to bounce back from that tough loss they had, um, against the Ravens last week, and certainly being back home, in Arrowhead, Stadium in Kansas City will certainly help them. I think that that they'll certainly what I'm saying, be able to be motivated from that loss to to play better football and to play a complete 48 60 minutes, excuse me. I don't know why I said 48, but yeah, because that's pretty much what they didn't do last week. They played good for 3 quarters, and then the fourth quarter was pretty bad for them. So I think I look to for them to for those guys to get back on track, for Pat Mahomes and Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce to play at a high level and really well, and and to be able to score a lot of points up on the board, like they usually do. And I certainly think that the defense will do enough. Kansas City's defense will do enough and make enough plays to slow down the Chiefs. I mean uh, Chargers, excuse me, offense. On that side of the ball, and to and for them to get the win. I'd like to see. Don't get me wrong, because I'm a Patriots fan and I hate the Chiefs, and I'd like to see the Chargers win this game and and pull off that upset, and and the Chiefs to lose 2 games in a row, especially since there was a whole bunch of talk about how the Chiefs could go 20-0, and Pat Mahomes said, "Oh yeah, that'd be awesome," and he thought they had a chance to do that, so that'd be I'd love to see what I'm saying, an upset right here, but I gotta be realistic and keep it real, and I just don't think that's gonna happen as much as I'd like to see that happen.
If Justin Herbert played like he did last year, I would maybe feel more confident, maybe taking a bold pick with the Chargers over the Chiefs. But just how he's performed so far, I don't see them beating the Chiefs. I do think it'll be a really good game, though. One game that I don't really think will be a good game is the only game that both teams are 0-2. That is the Falcons at the New York Giants. Like I said, the Falcons, I don't think anybody possibly could imagine they would be this bad. I mean, 6 points against the Eagles defense, uh, giving up nearly 50 points against the Buccaneers defense. They broke their
They
own
had two
record.
pick sixes though. That so. But now I hear what you're saying though. They technically still gave up 34 points. Which is not very good and not gonna win you many football games, giving up that many points.
And the Falcons actually gave up broke their own record last season. The first 2 games of the year, they gave up 78 points, which that was the record the
That's
first two
crazy.
games. They
Wow.
broke the record this year. They gave up 80 points the first two games, I believe.
Wow. Wow.
That's just absolutely horrendous for
It
Atlanta.
is.
I
That's
have the Giants winning this one
atrocious.
here pretty easily.
I see. I see. All right. This is where I'm going to disagree with. As crazy as that sound, I'm gonna be bold right here and pick the Atlanta Falcons to win this game because I don't know. I just don't like as much as I don't like what I've seen from the Falcons so far. I don't like what I've seen from the Giants. Like even worse. Like, geez, I don't think they could get off to a worse start either than what they already had right out of the gate. Losing their first two games pretty badly and not what I'm saying, not playing well at all at, either side of the ball, and particularly on offense, with Daniel Jones being a turnover machine and, not taking care of the ball and making good decisions and stuff. And then I feel like Saquon Barkley's performing, not played as, well as, we'd expect him, to play, and particularly with the Giants offensive line like that, they're, uh, pretty god awful and, and atrocious to say the least. So it's like, um, yeah, I just don't, even trust the Giants to, win this game against the Vikings, even though they should probably win it. But I think, the Falcons could certainly, I don't even know if this would be called an upset. I don't even know who's favored to win this game. I'd assume it'd be the Giants, but I think, certainly I could see the Falcons upsetting and getting a win on the road. Um, in MetLife against against the Giants, because I think the Giants are just even bigger and absolute mess and shit show. Honestly, excuse my French, right there, but I certainly think that they're a worse team than the Falcons, and that and then and I think the Falcons can definitely pull this one out.
It's interesting because you look at these two teams; they're both 0-2, and it's like you think one team might be better than the other, and you think one team's worse, and then they both even suck worse than you possibly imagine in that game, and it'll be like a 7-6 win or something like that. This is this is
Oh
definitely going to
man, that
be
would be
the least
oh
entertaining
man,
game of
that'd
the
be
week.
hilarious. That'd be laughable if it ends up being something like that. I think I don't see it being that. I think both teams will at least put a little bit more points up on the board. What I'm saying, in this game. And stuff. That'd be crazy if it's 7-6 or like a low scoring game. Because I definitely don't see that. But I certainly think that the Falcons, if they don't turn over the ball, they can take care of the ball and not, what I'm saying, be careless, with the football like they were against the Bucks. I think they could certainly be in a good position to win this game against the Giants.
And it's interesting because you look at teams who have sucked going up against a team who has sucked in years past. There's times where these games have been actually very entertaining. Look at several years ago, week the second to last week of the season, 2019, the Bengals. I'm a huge Bengals fan. They were down 17 against the Dolphins, and they ended up tying that game, and it went to overtime, and the Dolphins ended up winning. We look back at the standings at the end of the season. If the Bengals ended up winning that game, they would have not have had the first pick, and they would not have selected Joe Burrow. It's weird
Right,
because
right.
it's weird. Teams like this who aren't good, these losses and wins really have a huge implication when it comes around draft time. And it
Mm-hmm.
could really change your future for the next 10, 15 years. We don't really have a whole ton of time left. So kind of a quick, who's your pick here for the 2-0 Cardinals against the 0-2 Jaguars?
Yeah, I'll go Cardinals right here. They should be able to win this game. I mean, we know how bad the Jaguars are, and and that they're in rebuilding mode. With Trevor Lawrence starting. quarterback and not really having much to, work with and, much talent around him. So, and we know how talented the Cardinals are on, offense and defense and how explosive and scary the offense is. So I'll definitely go with the Cardinals to win this game, and this should be a blowout and no contest.
Uh, I definitely think, I mentioned the Ravens and Lions has potential to be the biggest deficit. I think this will honestly be 100% the biggest deficit week.
This should be, absolutely.
Cardinals are much better than people think. The Jaguars are surprisingly far worse than people think. I think far worse than people thought they were going to be. I think Lawrence will throw a couple picks. I think Murray
At
will
least.
continue to stay.
I've even seen him throw maybe 3 or 4 picks, but he's good for at least 2, no doubt.
And honestly, that's something that kind of aggravates me. I like Zach Wilson a lot more than Trevor Lawrence, and you hear about Zach Wilson throwing picks, against the Patriots and the week before against the Panthers. But when it comes to Trevor Lawrence, the college football golden boy for years, him throwing picks, nobody has talked about it at all. Even though you can make a case. I mean, the Jaguars have some better offensive talent than the Jets do. And it's interesting because that goes to the next game here. The Jets take on the Broncos. I have the Broncos winning this one pretty easily here. I think Wilson will kind of bounce back a little bit, but I still take the Denver Broncos here pretty comfortably here against the Jets.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. I think the Broncos should be able to win this game. I mean, we've already talked about how bad of a football team the New York Jets are, as we've seen from the first 2 weeks against the Panthers and the Patriots. Last week, they certainly got a whole lot to work on and to fix there and there. There's a pretty big mess going on over with that team as well. Denver has a far much better team and particularly at home should be able to take care of business and win this game pretty comfortably and pretty easily over a really bad New York Jets football team.
And I kind of mentioned earlier that the AFC West, in my opinion, I even kind of mentioned it in a video before. A couple guys I know, one's a Raiders fan, one's a Chargers fan. We talked about how underrated the AFC West is. You look at it so far, the Chargers and the Chiefs are tied for last place, which is just crazy. And the Broncos and the Raiders are tied for first place right now, both at 2-0.
It's insane.
Realistically,
wow, unbelievable.
It's crazy, and realistically, we could see both these teams, the Broncos and the Raiders, both move to 3-0 this week, and the Chargers play the Chiefs. So one of those teams are going to be more than likely 2 games behind first place. With the Raiders, they take on the Dolphins, and the Dolphins. I do not believe Tua will be starting this game. I think it's going to be.
He's been ruled out, so he's not going to play. Jacoby Brissett will be getting the start in this game.
Jacoby Brissett, he's a backup who, in my opinion, at times has shown promise to be a okay starting quarterback, but then there's been other times where he just absolutely sucks. Derek Carr, he's been lights out this season, averaging over 400 passing yards a game. That looks like the Raiders defense has finally figured it out. Throughout Derek Carr's career, the Raiders have never had a top 25 defense. That is just absolutely crazy. I think the Raiders would win this one here against Miami pretty easily to at least maybe be tied for first place or maybe end up being first place in the AFC West once again this week.
Yeah, no, I'd certainly agree with you on this one. I definitely expect Las Vegas Raiders to win this game. They've certainly played well the first 2 weeks and had 2 pretty big wins. It's crazy. They've beaten both the Ravens and the Steelers, and they beat the Steelers last week in Pittsburgh and Heinz Field, which is, as we know, a really tough place to play and to win a football game. And they were able to do that last week, and I think they carry that momentum into this game, and they are definitely a better team than the Dolphins, particularly with the Dolphins being banged up with Tua not with the rib injury and not being able to play this game and having to start Jacoby Brissett. And on Sunday, I think he's good for at least a couple picks. I think he's um, mediocre at best and shaky and stuff. Like, there's certain times that he, like you said, he makes good throws and, makes good decisions. And then there's just other times where it's like, what the hell? Like, what are you doing, bro? Like, and stuff. So I definitely, plan to see some of those moments in this game. And I think particularly at home, I expect the Raiders to be able to take care of business and be able to move, win this game and move on to 3-0 and be at top of the division in the AFC West.
Yeah, it's interesting because the Raiders. I feel like of all the 2-0 teams, I'm not saying they're the best 2-0 team. I would say that they have had probably the most impressive wins for a 2-0 team right now. I mean the Ravens. I know they're down with injuries, but that was still a very impressive win, and
That's still a
especially
good win, regardless.
and
Absolutely.
and you look at Baltimore. I mention it all the time. Being a Bengals fan, I cannot stand the Ravens. I get sick and tired of
I'm
them
sure you
being on
can.
TV. And I always tell people, if the Ravens are up 10 points, it's over. If the Ravens are down 10 points, it's over. For instance, look at Lamar Jackson. When he starts with the Ravens, when they're down 10 points and more, they're 0-6. When the Ravens are
What happened last week?
oh,
They
that
just
was
beat
not
the Chiefs last week. That last week, and they were down by more than 10 points.
that was the first game that actually ended up winning, as Jackson, with down by 10 points. And the week prior to
That's
that,
crazy. I didn't even know that. Wow.
and the Raiders game, I feel it really showed how good the Raiders are. Because heading into that Raiders Ravens game, when the Baltimore Ravens are up 10 points or more, when Lamar Jackson's the quarterback with Baltimore, the Ravens were 27-1 when they were up 10 points or more.
Wow, that's
That
crazy.
is crazy. And the Raiders,
That's a pretty
ended.
impressive.
And that I feel like that. I mean, that speaks volume how good Baltimore's been, but really how volume. That was a very impressive win by the Raiders, and with them getting a win against the Pittsburgh week 2. I mean, they're 2-0. Kind of speaking of Pittsburgh, the Bengals take on the Steelers.
Ooh.
I'm not this. I hate. There's nothing I hate more than Steelers. I'm
Me
so
too.
excited
I
for this
hate the
game.
Steelers too, even as a Pats fan. I still can't stand the Steelers and especially their fans.
They have the worst fans in the NFL,
Oh,
and it's not
hands
even
down.
debatable. And
Absolutely.
people say, "Oh, you're just a Bengals fan." No, like it is beyond horrible. Like it sucks because I feel like the Bengals have the offensive talent, and really the defense has stepped up a time this year. I feel like the Bengals are capable of beating the Steelers. I just do not see it happening. Wide receiver T. Higgins was ruled doubtful just an hour or so ago. Zach Taylor, I do not trust him at all. He's 0-20 when trailing into the fourth quarter. I just do not trust Zach Taylor as a head coach. He said he has a plan against the
Oh,
Steelers.
is he
I don't
really
buy
that
it.
bad? I didn't realize Zach Taylor's really that bad of a head
Oh,
coach.
he's horrible. He's 0-20 when trailing in the fourth start of the fourth quarter when trailing. He's I'm trying to think. He's 3-14-1. I think at one possession games.
Oh,
He's
jeez.
blown.
My goodness. Oh, my God. Wow.
He's blown. He blew a 21-point lead against the Colts last season. He blew a
Whoa,
14-point lead.
what?
Yeah, against the Colts, we
Wow.
were up 21
Unbelievable.
nothing in the first quarter. We ended up losing. Week
What? Are
one.
you kidding me?
No, sadly,
I
I
didn't
wish
even
I was.
realize that. Wow, I had no idea. Wow, that's shit.
And,
Damn, that's really bad. That's
and,
God.
It's crazy because if the Bengals were in like the New York media, like the Jets and everything, Taylor would have been fired after his first season. But since the
Oh,
Bengals are a
without
little
a
market
doubt,
team,
absolutely.
I mean, it's just horrible. I mean, we blew a 14-point lead against Minnesota. We fortunately were able to get a
Damn.
win in overtime with a great kick by a rookie kicker. This past week, heading into the fourth quarter, you look at their offense talent. I mean, we have Boyd, Higgins, Mixon, Tate, and Chase. Uh, Burrow, Mixon, Boyd, Higgins, and Chase against the
Hmm.
Bears defense. The Bears secondary is horrible. Heading into the fourth quarter, we had 3 points. Like that is
Wow.
horrendous. Like our coaching is far more worse than people, outside of the Cincinnati media realize. I want to unfortunately have the Steelers in this one. I hope I'm wrong. Like I don't care. Like I just want to see the Bengals win. I don't care what happens. I just it sucks because I know they're not going to win, and they're
Right,
probably
and
going
I know
to
this
lose.
Bengals your team, and you really want to pick them like deep down inside, and like you're trying to convince yourself, uh, and you know what I'm saying, and trying to give yourself a reason to actually pick them to win this game, and you just really can. You keep coming up with reasons, and and bringing up points and why they're gonna lose this game. And I mean, shoot, after hearing that, how can I pick them? You know how you know what I'm saying? Like after hearing what you just said about your Cincinnati Bengals and you know what I'm saying, how bad their coaching, you know what I'm saying, is and stuff, like I would look like a fool and an idiot. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying, and dumb to pick them. So yeah, I'm gonna have to go with the Steelers on this one. Even though I hate the Steelers too, and I hope the Bengals upset them, pull off their dramatic and unbelievable upset. But no, I particularly since the Steelers, lost last week against the, Raiders. Don't see them dropping two at home. I think they should definitely be, um, but play much better, than what they did, against the Raiders. And I think they, will, what I'm saying, on both sides of the ball, dominate, um, and stuff. But I don't know, how's their quarterback situation looking like, because um, I don't know, is Big Ben gonna play? Because I heard he didn't play too well
He's playing.
last week. Oh, okay, so
It's
he.
a stupid BS storyline. Every single time the Steelers play the Bengals, there's always one key player for the Steelers. The whole week, Mike Tomlin will have them as questionable day to day in practice, and it'll come up. They end up playing, and they look like a hero when they end up winning. It's the same crap all the time. Years ago,
Oh man, damn.
Antonio Brown
Oh
was listed
man.
as doubtful the whole week. We played Monday Night Football against the Steelers. He was doubtful the whole week.
Uh,
And all of a sudden he's healthy like 10 minutes before the game. How convenient and is that? And he has over 100 yards,
that
and to make
makes
him
no
look like he's some
sense,
hero.
right? Like, make it make sense. That's like, it's like, what the fuck, like, you know what I'm saying? And it's like, are you kidding me? Like, how can this guy be healthy enough to play if you listed on him on the injury report? Like you said, the whole week leading up to that game, like, as doubtful. Like, doubtful usually means you are not going to play that game. So it's
And
like, how's that even possible?
Roethlisberger, he's for sure playing. And but every single time we play against him,
But
it's
isn't
always
he
like
banged
some
up? And I
player.
thought he's been like, shaky and, and up and down and pretty sporadic, with his play in the first two games.
Yeah, he hasn't played good, and also Rappaport just tweeted like half an hour ago that T.J. Watt's questionable. He's going to play. It's just the
Yeah,
same stuff
exactly.
all
Right.
the
Who
time.
who is he kidding? Right. Who is he fooling? TJ Watt's definitely
Absolutely
gonna
nobody.
play. Right, right. Like, I don't see him missing this game at all. Absolutely not. And
And
he's
it's
a beast, by the way, too. Did TJ Watt for sure. So, yeah, I know you guys got a lot to to deal with and stuff, and like, yeah, we wish you guys best of luck, but I don't think it'll be a good day for your Bengals on Sunday. I'm sure you're expecting that already.
yeah, it's going to suck. I've already kind of talked about once the game's over. I'm probably just going to lay down in bed for the rest of the night, trying to recuperate after this loss. It's going to suck.
Oh man, damn
But
man.
we only have about 4 or 5 minutes left. My phone's actually about to die. So your Patriots, they take on the
Exactly. Let's
Saints,
get to it. Right. I was about to say we
one
got
one
to
of
talk
one.
about the Pats, about my Patriots.
Who do you have winning this game?
I definitely have to go with my Patriots for sure. I think, they need to win this game. That particularly since losing to Miami in the first week, in the game that they clearly should have won, and they fumbled that game away. Towards the end, they certainly don't want to see them go down 1-2, especially since we know who's coming to town next week, the big Week 4 matchup. With the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. With Tom Brady coming back, and so don't expect them to the Pats to win that game. So I don't want to see them fall 1-3 to start the season, because that would definitely be putting themselves in a hole, and um and lessen their chance of making the playoffs. And I believe that they will make up the playoffs and be a playoff team. So I definitely think what I'm saying. Yeah, they need to win this game. Um, I think it will be a really close game. I certainly think that the Patriots defense can force Jameis Winston into some turnovers, and get some short fields, and be able to capitalize on those turnovers, since he is pretty. He's like a gunslinger, so he's pretty much a guy that's gonna take a lot of risk, and throw a lot of passes into tight, coverage, and try to force balls in there. So I think we can be able to take advantage of that. And I think we should, also be able to run the football, well. I think, particularly, with Damian Harris and James White, they've been running it pretty well the first two games. I, expect to see them, continue to do that, into this game. But what I would like to see, though, what has to improve, and what the Patriots do have to do to win this game, is the offensive line play has to be much, much better than what we've seen the first 2 weeks. It has not been very good at all. With the Patriots offensive line, and they have not, protected, Mac Jones well. I think particularly, last week, and they've, had a lot of, dumb, penalties, and not played good football, at all. So hopefully they get Trent Brown back, their starting right tackle, which will certainly help them, their offensive line, be able to play better, and give them more stability, um, um, and stuff. So, but they just, as a unit, need to, play better. They've been at least run blocking well, so I'll definitely at least give them that. But in terms of the passing game, and protecting Mac Jones, they definitely need to be much more better, do a much better job of that. And also the Patriots front seven needs to be better too, especially against Alvin Kamara, one of the best running backs in the NFL. And he's certainly going to get a lot of touches, and have the ball a lot in his hands. So they need to do a good job of defending him and slowing him down, and not letting him make too many explosive and big plays, down the field, and and be able to, run the ball as well as he can. So I think if the Patriots can be able to, do those things, and and execute, on both sides of the ball, playing good complementary football, I certainly think they should be able to win this game. But it'll be a really good game, because the Saints are, they're not a bad team. They're a good team. Even though they didn't play well last week against the Panthers, they're still, are more than capable of coming in here, and beating the Pats. So the Pats definitely got to be ready to play, and play at a high level, and you know, and execute in all three phases of the game, in order to be able to win it, and beat the Saints.
Yeah, it should be a really good game, and I have the Patriots winning this one here. I just, Sean Payton, going up against Bill Belichick, some of the better head coaches in the league, should be a great game. But I feel like the Patriots are more experienced, and I trust the Patriots coaching staff more than I do Payton and Winston. So I have the Patriots winning that one. Real quick here, the Seahawks against the Vikings. I have the Vikings with the upset win. You look at the Vikings; their two losses have both been by one possession losses. They nearly beat the Bengals in the comeback victory. They would have made that field goal against the Cardinals. They would have won that game. They're one of those teams. Just one or two things would go differently. They're one of the undefeated teams right now. Who do you have winning this one?
The Seahawks. I'll go with Seattle winning this one. I think they'll bounce back from their tough loss they had against the Titans, and I think that they'll you know be able to pull this one out in Minnesota against the Vikings. I definitely think they'll Russell Wilson will will play well and have a good game, as well as that offense. And I think the defense, I'm not really too bound on their defense. I think they'll do just enough, uh, and make enough plays to be able to help the Seahawks get the win against the Vikings. But it wouldn't surprise me if the Vikings do win win this game. I think it'll be a close one, and for sure. But I think the Seahawks will end up coming on top.
Yeah, so my phone's at 2% here, so we still have 3 games left. We're trying to get these really quickly. Buccaneers and Rams. Who do you have winning this one?
The Bucs. I think this will be definitely the best game of the week without question. This is a really fascinating and exciting matchup. I think the Bucs will certainly win this game. It'll definitely be a close game for sure. And it'll be a pretty exciting matchup. The Bucs offense and the and then the Rams defense, to see those two sides of the ball go at it. But I think the Bucs will definitely do enough and play a little bit better than the Rams will to be able to win this game.
Yeah, this is definitely the game of the week, and I keep going back and forth between this game, but I want to take the Buccaneers because they're more experienced, and I feel like as the season continues, if they would play again, which obviously they wouldn't, then I would maybe take the Rams because the Rams have played good, but I trust this Buccaneers team more than the Rams. Phone is at 1%.
Right, especially since Tom Brady's on fire and that offense is on fire and it's just been clicking on all cylinders, like 9 touchdowns in 2 games, and you know what I'm saying. And the way that that offense has looked, it's just been absolutely scary. So I definitely think obviously the Rams will slow them down a little bit, but I think they're still going to put up points and and still play well enough to win. You want me to go first with this Sunday night game?
Basically, just tell who you have, the Packers or the 49ers.
I'll go 49ers.
All right. So the Cowboys and the Eagles. So you have one of those two between that matchup.
Cowboys.
All right. I also have the 49ers and the Cowboys as well. We got my phone's on 1%. So that about does it for this video. Thank you all so much for watching. Barry, can you quickly kind of tell some of the people where they can find you on social media?
Yes, absolutely. So you can follow us on all social media platforms. We're on Instagram at @profans_sports. So you can follow us on there. We drop content every day on that page. So definitely give us a follow. We're on Twitter as well at @profans_sports. So you can follow our Twitter as well, and then you can also follow us on Facebook too. If you just type in Pro Fans Sports on Facebook, you'll be able to look our page up and follow us on there as well. And we post content on all of our pages every day. So definitely give us a follow, and then also subscribe to the YouTube as well to be able to check out all our videos from all our episodes coming up on that we've already done previously. So definitely follow us on all those pages and accounts, and we definitely appreciate all the support and and everyone that does follow our our pages and and our platform.
Can you hear me all right?
Yes, sir.
All right, that really about does it for this video. I really appreciate you joining and everything. Make sure to go follow Barry and his really cool podcast. He has lots of Boston themed videos and stuff. Thank you all so much for listening. Make sure to like this video
too as well. So we do both local Boston sports and national sports too. So we definitely try to do as much as we can and have as much content as we can outside of Boston as well. So, and thanks for having me on here. This was a lot of fun and this was awesome. And and really cool being on here and and talking NFL with you. So we'll definitely have to do this again, maybe sometime later in the season, as we closer to the playoffs, or maybe even in the playoffs. So thanks again for having me on here. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you all so much for watching. If you like this video and subscribe to the channel, I would greatly appreciate it. And I will see you all next time on the Sports Behind Show.